So what if I told you that for most people, the biggest financial risk in retirement isn't running out of money, but actually having way too much? I know, it sounds like a pretty great problem to have, right? But as we're about to see, it comes with its own set of really surprising challenges.
This is the big fear that drives so much of our financial planning, isn't it? That nightmare scenario where you save your entire life, you follow all the rules, and then you watch your account balance just hit zero right when you need it the most. Does playing it safe really mean you're cutting it that close?
Well, the data tells a completely different story. The answer is a huge, emphatic no. For most folks who follow a standard, safe retirement strategy, the most likely outcome isn't dying broke at all. It's leaving a substantial fortune behind. We're talking a whole second nest egg for your kids, or maybe a big donation to a cause you really care about.
So what's going on here? Why is there this massive disconnect between our biggest fears and what the data actually shows? Let's peel back the layers on what we could call the Great Retirement Money Myth.
The key to understanding all of this comes down to one simple concept: the safe withdrawal rate, or SWR. Now, this isn't just some optimistic guess about how much you can spend. No. This is a battle-tested strategy that's been designed to survive the absolute worst financial storms you can imagine. Think the Great Depression, the dot-com bust, all of it. It's built on a mountain of real history and computer models to make sure your money lasts.
And because it's built to be so safe, it has some really surprising side effects. To see what I mean, let's start by looking at what thousands of computer simulations of retirement portfolios actually show us. And honestly, the results might just blow you away.
Okay, so what you're looking at here, yeah, it kind of looks like a mess of spaghetti, right? But each one of those gray lines is a possible 30-year retirement journey for a $1 million portfolio. This single chart shows 500 different simulated futures. Some of them shoot way up, others take a scary dip, but it just perfectly shows you the huge range of what could happen.
That spaghetti chart is a little wild, I'll admit. So let's bring some order to that chaos. This slide takes all 500 of those final balances and sorts them into a nice, simple histogram. This makes it so much easier to see where most people are actually likely to end up after 30 years.
And boom, here's the core takeaway. What's the chance you end your 30-year retirement with more than the $1 million you started with? A whopping 79.2%. Just let that sink in for a second. In nearly 4 out of every 5 simulations, the portfolio didn't just survive, it actually grew.
So what does safe really mean here? Well, out of those 500 different simulations, each with its own crazy set of market twists and turns, only one, just a single one, ran out of money before the 30-year mark. That one failure represents a truly disastrous, historically rare string of bad luck. That's just how powerful that built-in safety buffer really is.
Okay, so simulations are one thing, but they aren't real life. I get it. So let's shift gears and see what happens when we stop simulating and start looking at what has actually happened in real-world market history.
Now, this chart might look a lot like the first one, but it's totally different. This is based on real life. Each line here represents a 30-year retirement that started in a different month in actual U.S. market history, going back decades. This is the ultimate stress test, showing how the strategy would have held up through actual wars, recessions, and booms.
And when we organize all of this historical data, just like we did with the simulations, a very familiar pattern shows up. Now, the outcomes aren't quite as wildly optimistic as some of the simulations. Reality tends to be a bit more grounded, but the main message is exactly the same. Success is the rule, not the exception.
So how much extra money are we talking about? Well, based on real-world history, you would have had a 21.8% chance, that's more than 1 in 5, of passing away with over $2.1 million from that initial $1 million portfolio. That's not just a surplus, that's a massive surplus.
And this is where things get really, really interesting. Because now we have to ask an almost philosophical question. We've proven these plans are incredibly successful at not running out of money. But is that the only way we measure success? Or could this kind of success actually be its own weird form of failure? There's a pretty powerful argument out there that goes something like this. Dying with a huge bank balance is a failure. That money could have been used to live a richer life, to create more experiences, to give more to your family, to just reduce your stress. But instead, it just sat there, unused.
And that's the central puzzle of retirement planning. It's kind of like packing for a trip to the desert. You bring all this extra water, a satellite phone, a flare gun, just in case.
But if you have a perfectly normal, boring trip, you end up just carrying a lot of extra weight you never needed. That's exactly what's happening with our retirement money.
So, if having a big surplus is the most likely outcome, what do you do about it? You can't just ignore it. So let's talk about how to actually plan for this problem.
The source material suggests a pretty straightforward two-step approach. First, make a legacy plan, and do it early. Don't let that surplus be an accident. Decide with intention where you want that money to go, to your family, to causes you care about, and then work with a pro to make it official. And second, review your plan every so often, say every 8 to 10 years. If the markets have been good and your portfolio has grown a lot, it might be time to sit down with an advisor and reevaluate things. The whole point is to make sure your surplus has a purpose.
Now, before we wrap up, I have to give you the single most important warning. Please do not take this information as a green light to just start spending more every time you have a good year in the market. That surplus, that buffer, that is the very thing that makes the safe withdrawal rate safe. If you start chipping away at it, you undermine the whole strategy.
So at the end of the day, we plan so we don't run out of money. It's the smart, responsible thing to do. But all this data really begs a deeper question, doesn't it? What if the real goal of all this planning isn't just to not run out of money, but to make sure we don't run out of life? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me.